In this recording, we're going to discuss adaptive immunity, and we'll start with cell-mediated immunity. Your T cells are your cell-mediated immunity. We have two different types. We have T helper cells, sometimes known as CD4 cells, and we have cytotoxic T cells, sometimes referred to as CD8 cells. These cells are going to be primarily involved in fighting against intracellular pathogens. So any type of pathogen, a virus, a bacteria, anything that has invaded our cells. Okay? They also fight cancer cells and other foreign cells that we might come into contact with from a transplanted organ. Now, T cells themselves are created in your bone marrow, but travel to your thymus gland to become immunocompetent. And what we mean by immunocompetent is fully functional. Okay, so immature T cells aren't quite ready to go fight the pathogens, but once they become immunocompetent in your thymus, then they are ready for action. Now, T cells can only interact with antigens that are bound to major histocompatibility complex molecules, which is hard to say, so we say MHC instead. These MHC molecules are found on basically every cell except erythrocytes, because MHCs are found on nucleated cells, and erythrocytes, they have no nuclei, mature ones don't. Because erythrocytes do not have MHC molecules, this makes them really good for donation, because there aren't as many antigens that could cause reactions when we transfuse blood compared to other tissues. Now, the MHC molecules are really docking sites for antigens to put on display. So we've talked about antigen presenting cells, and these APCs will quote unquote present an antigen to the rest of your immune system. The MHCs are where we are presenting the antigens. And so we have two types of MHCs. Okay, we have this little one, we have this little one. But both times you will see that they've come into contact with an antigen, and then they are going to take that antigen and they are going to present it on their plasma membrane, okay, both sides, and we are presenting it to different types of T cells. Okay, once these T cells come into contact with these presented antigens, this is really a signal for the T cells to recognize who they should be on the lookout for. Okay, so once the T cell comes into contact with these APCs, these antigens on these MHC molecules, then the T cells know who to be on the lookout for, what antigens that we should be trying to destroy. Now, we do have the two different classes of MHCs. In class 1, we find these on plasma membranes of pretty much all of your nucleated cells. So we present a very specific kind of antigen with these MHC ones. We have endogenous antigens, so inside your cell. Okay, so endogenous antigens are coming from within your own cell. So this is an infected cell. Okay, perhaps it has been infected with a virus. The virus has taken over and starts cranking out viral antigens. Well, the MHC molecule is going to take that viral antigen and is going to present it to a T cell, cytotoxic T cell specifically. Okay? And now this cytotoxic T cell knows that anytime it sees this antigen, this cell is infected and it needs to be destroyed. Okay? Again, the cytotoxic T cells are the ones that associate with the class 1 molecules. Now, class 2 molecules, okay, we don't find those quite as often. These are found only on the antigen presenting cells themselves. Now, where are we getting these antigens from? These are coming from a different place. These class 2 MHCs present exogenous antigens. It's kind of a fun word to say, exogenous. Exo, outside the cell. Okay, so we have our nice APC cell, and he is phagocytizing this microbe. We're going to chew him up, spit him out, we're going to eat him. Okay, well, these little antigens that are on the microbe, we're going to take those antigens, we're going to put it on our class 2 MHC, and we're going to present that to our helper T cell. And now every time this helper T cell comes into contact with this antigen anywhere, okay, it knows that wherever it finds that antigen, something bad's going on, and we can now destroy more of these microbes. Okay, so class 1 molecules bind with cytotoxic T cells, class 2 molecules bind with helper T cells. Alright, speaking of helper T cells, they really do help. Okay, they are not phagocytic by themselves, they are not cytotoxic by themselves. They help recruit other members of your immune system. They secrete cytokines, and they activate other types of immune cells to achieve overarching functions. So they stimulate macrophages. Okay, so even though T helper cells aren't phagocytes, macrophages are. Okay, so T helper cells secrete cytokines, and we stimulate macrophages to destroy things. We can also activate cytotoxic T cells. Okay, so secreting other types of cytokines. Now we're going to make more and stimulate the maturation of cytotoxic T cells. And we could stimulate B cells. Okay, so we have even more cytokines that are going to stimulate B cells to start cranking out antibodies. Okay, so T helper cells, they really are helpers. Okay, they're helping activate these other players in your immune system. Now, cytotoxic T cells work quite a bit different. They are responsible for directly killing cells. Okay, remember, they do bind to the class 1 MHCs, while the T helper cells bind to the class 2 MHCs. So cytotoxic T cells detect abnormalities in anything that has a nucleus. Okay, so we can even detect certain cancer cells this way. Okay, we can try to snuff out those early cancer cells before it gets really bad. So when a cytotoxic T cell has become activated, when it knows what to be on the lookout for, when it comes into contact with that antigen it's looking for on the target cell, it releases something called perforin. Okay, perforin is going to perforate or poke a hole in the plasma membrane of the target cell. So now we can release enzymes into the target cell itself, and we can destroy the DNA, we can destroy the whole cell. Okay, we can also have cytotoxic T cells that bind to the plasma membrane of the target cell and secrete substances that induce apoptosis. Okay, and may or may not remember, apoptosis is programmed cell death, and so we can secrete substances that encourage apoptosis in those target cells directly. So we are, instead of helping, now we're just directly killing cells that need to be killed. In this recording, we're going to discuss the adaptive immunity and focus on